The lighting is good, right?
You're good. I think mine is just. Hi, Melissa. How are you?
Good. How are you? So good to see you.
Good to see you. Long time, long time.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, we used to work together and you were doing a lot of Hispanic translations. Are you
Yeah.
still doing it?
I am. I'm still doing, I'm still counseling. I'm not doing so much, translation anymore because I'm counseling on my own.
Yeah,
So I speak English and Spanish, so I don't have to translate for anyone.
that's awesome. That's awesome. So today, I mean, we when we work with people, a lot of times people come to us because they don't know what to do. And they
Right.
pretty much want us to tell them what to do, but we don't tell them what to do. We are supposed to equip them and guide them and give them the tools that they need to get to that place where they make their own decisions.
Yes.
What have you, for you, realized to the most part that most people struggle with when they come to you for counseling? What is the most outstanding challenge that you have found in your clients?
I would say that they come with the expectations that I'm gonna fix all their problems.
Of course.
And that I have to tell them what to do and they will do it and things will happen.
Yeah,
Not being accountable for themselves is it's a big issue because they want either blame the other person and you telling them that they're okay. So
yeah,
that can be very challenging, So teaching them how to think for themselves,
right,
how to
right.
make decisions for themselves and be responsible for the decisions that they make is the main goal.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because to the most part, they come and they are blaming the other person, and the other person is not there to defend themselves. And they are sometimes they try to make it the decision about the other person, and the other person is not in the room with you,
Mhm.
and,
Absolutely.
and they are hoping that you side with them to get a to so that they feel justified in whatever is going on.
Right. And that's a good sign as a counselor. I would say that once you see that, you see where the problem comes from. You know, the moment that you see them playing the blame game,
Yeah,
you already know they have the issue
they're not
because they're
responsible.
not willing to take responsibilities for their own actions or their own
Yeah,
decisions, whether they're good or bad.
right, right.
Either they're playing the victim or they want to victimize the other person, or then you see when they're coming from a codependent relationship.
Yeah,
And it's so funny how in one session you could definitely see the root of their
yeah,
problem. And
yeah,
most of the time is either pride, ego,
yeah,
or that victim mentality,
yeah,
yeah.
right. And I think almost to the most part, and the reason I wanted to mostly do a lot of these videos is many times you're expected to know what to do, but to the most part, no one has ever told you how to do it. For example, many people, when they get married, they've never been told what it's going to look like or how to be married, how to be a husband, how to be a wife. Then you become a parent. No one teaches you how to be a parent. You don't even know how it works. And this may be the first time, even if it's the third, second, fifth time, but you're expected to know what to do. And
Yeah.
so, one of the challenges that I've noticed when I work with people is that lack of skills. They've never developed skills for relationships, for resolving problems, for conflict and regulation emotionally, and just thinking, so much that goes on in a human being that there is a lack of skills. And so when you get frustrated, you're thinking it shouldn't be this way, but you don't know how it should be or how to navigate to get to the results that you want. And so I wanted us to be able to equip people with skills and tools. And even as both of us are temperament coaches, we've been trained to work with people to help them understand themselves, knowing the effects of how a person's temperament affects their interactions with the environments around them. Do you want to say anything into that temperament?
Yeah, one of the things that I've noticed when people start to understand their temperament, it's that they start being aware of their weaknesses.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I think that this is so powerful because the moment that you notice your weaknesses,
yeah,
you know something is off,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
You're either, that you're working into unknown areas and you might be afraid. So now your actions are based on fear,
yeah,
right? Or you might be in a situation where you don't know what to do because you're so used to people telling you what to do, and you know that that's one of your weaknesses. Now you realize that you have to work on that area to build some sort of security for yourself.
Yeah.
And also, you know that, okay, I have a weakness of not knowing how to build boundaries. So coming into a counseling session and understanding that that's a weakness of you, then now you're learning on, okay, how do I say no?
Yeah.
How do I say yes to myself so that I can proceed with my goal without hurting the other person, but I'm also doing things for myself, you know?
Absolutely. Because I think, I don't know about you, when you first get your temperament results. And by the way, for those of you who don't know what temperament is what is inborn in you that determines how you interact with the environment around you. And it's really measured in different areas like your socialization, your decision making, and your emotional affectionate relationships. And so when you first receive your results, you're looking at it and you're thinking, like, how did someone know me to this degree? And they put it on paper. And sometimes some people reject it, that's not who they are. They don't believe it. Of course, these are human. We are humans in a sense that there will be some margin of error in certain things. But to the most part, it's accurate. It kind of helps you. And I remember when I first got my results, it took me a moment to really engage to see the things that I was doing to meet my needs in a way that wasn't healthy. And sometimes it would take me 3 weeks or 3 months, and then I'll look back, I'm like, oh, that's what was happening. I hadn't spent time with myself, and I need quiet time by myself to rejuvenate, but I hadn't got that space, and now I'm becoming very irritable. And so a lot of times, like when you get to understand those results, they help you to know yourself, first of all, to see who you are, what your needs are. Because when you come to counseling, many times these are the introductory things that we give to you. Help you to understand your temperament, understand yourself, and see what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, so that we can equip you in a way that is for you, customized for you.
Absolutely. Especially, I would say what made me realize when I found out my temperament and I knew that I was a blended temperament, then I understood that I wasn't bipolar. I understood that I express differently in different areas, and it's okay to be that way, and also discovering that I also have a learned behavior, and also that I have a personality. It changed everything for me. So the more I understood my temperament, the more I liked myself, and I like to deal with myself from my temperament standpoint, not so much of my personality or my learned behavior. And I was able to deal with learned behavior that were not healthy for me. That I was only doing them because that's what I saw my parents do, so that's how I did it. And I was always uncomfortable doing those things, but I never understood why until I understood, okay, this is my temperament and this is how I was created. And it's okay if I want to be an introvert at some point. I don't have to be out there all the time. I could take a break,
Yes, because you are not balancing your needs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's great.
It is really, it's such a great tool. And even to see, again, like, in order to develop in relationships and learning how to interact with other people, you need to understand yourself. There is a quotation that they say, I think it's Socrates who made that quotation that says, know thyself. Meaning that your ability to understand the world is dependent on you, how much you know yourself.
Absolutely.
So to the degree that, let's say, to the degree you understand your anger, is to the degree you're going to understand anger outside in the world. Like when you interact with other people, because you have become understanding of your own anger, when you see the anger in other people, you can easily relate to it because you have that relationship with your own. And so as people are attempting to do better or develop healthier skills in relationship, the first thing that they need to understand is to know themselves. And temperament is one of the skills that helps them to do that. And even as we help them to know their temperament, we encourage them to explore their life experiences where they've been traumatized, where they've been wounded and scarred in such ways that that temperament compounds into their temperamental needs. And sometimes you feel like you're stuck. Like you said, you know, I thought that I had to always be this extrovert, but the temperament kind of helped you to realize, no, in this area, I express more as an introvert, and that's okay, you know?
And you're more free, you know, it brings so much freedom into being your own person and not trying to be something that everybody else wants you to be.
Exactly.
You know, learning how to be comfortable in your own skin, learning how to be comfortable with the way you express yourself, or you don't know how to express yourself, you know? And
Yeah.
I've always had that mentality of, if you cannot recognize your own flaws, you can
Yeah.
never fix them.
You can't, you know, like they used to say, you can't heal what you don't know.
You can, and as counselors, you
Yeah.
cannot give something you don't have.
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't know how much to emphasize this, because I think sometimes when people come to us, they assume that we are better than them, and they put us on this pedestal, and they think we have wings on our back and we are angelic and we don't go through the things that they go through. Sometimes, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, where your client is basically describing your story, but they don't even know that.
It
Because
happened
they
to
just-
me. It happened to me in a couples counseling, and I said, "Oh my God, they're going through what my husband and I are going through, and I am that way. Oh my God!" So in the process of counseling, I was counseling myself.
Yes.
And I had to humble myself and apologize to my husband right after the counseling session. I
Yeah.
said, "I'm so sorry that I was behaving that way."
Yeah. Because you were able to see from outside.
Yes.
Yeah. As opposed to when you're in it.
Because pride gets in the way.
Of
You
course.
know, when pride gets in the way, or again, you know, when you don't have that active listening skill,
Yes.
where you're only listening to respond and
Yes.
you're not listening to comprehend,
Right.
it creates conflict.
It
You know?
really does. And that's one of the skills in relationships, that the ability to resolve conflict, but one of it is to communicate. And like, again, some people, by the way, I just put like a free workbook on my website for those of you who are interested in developing your relationship skills. Like, if you want to get my emails, you can go and subscribe, but you get the free workbook about developing skills. One of the things that it addresses is about the different types of communication, in a sense that there are people who are passive aggressive, there are people who are very passive, there are people who are aggressive, and there are people who are just assertive, which is good. And we want to learn to be more assertive so that we can be able to express what we feel and what we want in a language that other people can understand it.
Right.
And so, as we are doing these videos in helping people to develop more skills in their lives, in their relationships, what do you think has stood out for you, that basic skill that people should have? And maybe next time we can jump into that skill.
Okay, so to me, it's listening to understand.
Listening to understand.
Yes, absolutely. I think listening to understand is the most important part of communication, because I might not like what you're saying to me, but if I give you a chance to understand where you're coming from
Yeah.
and understand why you're saying what you're saying, it's gonna bring a solution to the problem, because I might not agree with you, but I understand you.
Yeah.
You know, me and you can sit here and communicate all day long.
Yeah.
But that if there's not understanding, there's no compassion, there's no empathy,
Yeah.
no resolution here at all.
Right. Because I think sometimes people think that in order, if you really are listening to me, you'll agree with me.
And it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, the assumption, if you really are listening to me, you shouldn't fight me, you just agree with me and everything will be fine. And that's where most people get stuck. So maybe next time we are going to talk more into that, helping people to understand how to hear each other, or even how to express themselves, and what makes it difficult for people to hear and understand. You know,
Absolutely.
and I think we are living in a very divided world. What did you say?
I said it'll be a very important subject, because this can help you in your workplace, in your a relationship with your family, relationship with your friends, your spouse. You
Yeah.
know, you need communication skills in everything that you do, even with your children. You know, sometimes it's hard to understand this new generation compared to how we were raised. So having a little bit of empathy for how they're growing up is very
Yeah.
important. But a lot of parents are, well, I'm your mom and you do as I say. My parents didn't put up with this, but it's wrong. It's wrong.
It's very wounding and very hurtful because the kids end up not being listened to or
Yeah.
heard. Yeah.
Mhm.
So where can people find you, Melissa, if they need to get in touch with you?
If they want to get in touch with me, well, right now, like I told you, I am rebuilding my website. My firm is New Creations Counseling. I
Yeah.
am on Instagram at New Creation Counseling NJ. And I don't have a Facebook page. I do have to get a little bit better building myself up. You know, I'm more of a word of mouth. I do get a lot of referrals. And so far it's, you know, I'm growing my platform.
That's
So I will
good.
keep you posted once I start working on my YouTube channel
Yeah.
and you know.
Absolutely, and you speak Spanish, so you can very help a lot of times people who are Spanish speaking, because sometimes it's not easy to find a Spanish speaking therapist sometimes. So
Yes.
that's a good stream that you have in your services. So for those of you who want to get more information, you can find me at forerunnercounseling.com. My handles on Instagram and Facebook are the same, Forerunner Counseling, and we can take it from there. So until next week, guys, thank you for joining us. You can like our video, you can subscribe to our channels, and then we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.